Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The News. I'm coming to you this evening on Monday, the 4th of January 2021, basically to do a summary, recap, and do a summary of the announcement that was made early this evening regarding the reintroduction of a national lockdown here in the United Kingdom, well, specifically England. Actually, every country seemed to be slightly different, but it was announced today by Prime Minister Boris Johnson that there will be a raising of the bar, as it were, and that we shall be moved. Well, we were in tier 4 here, where I live anyway, but the whole nation would be moved into what's now been called level 5, according to all the mainstream outlets that I've had a look at in the time since. So, the mainstream outlets being your usual suspects, BBC, Sky, all that lot, and then of course some newspapers like the Express, Guardian, or them, local outlets, and all that mumbo jumbo. So just as a disclaimer, as it were, everything that you're going to hear on this video is drawn from official sources and information. So this isn't anybody coming up with some stuff to just have a chit chat about. These are things that were said today, and also things that I'll read to you, hence these, and then I'll let you to draw your own conclusions on that. There'll also be one or two things I'll kind of encourage you to take a closer look at, because I'm not going to spend all evening reading all that stuff to you. It would take too long, so it's worth you then going and having a look at these places, whatever, yourself, which I would encourage all people of Earth to do, but apparently, allegedly, only 0.00001% are even capable of even entertaining the idea of taking a closer look and looking elsewhere. But that's another topic, and I won't go there. Right, so today on the news, we're going to be talking about level 5 and the implications, but not just level 5 necessarily, but also the vaccinations that were talked about a lot this evening, and everywhere you look there's a lot of chit chat about it. So I'm just going to go through the points with you, and I'll start with a quote from Messrs Johnson himself, who said that we are entering the final phase of our struggle. Okay, so just let that one sink in, because I don't know about you, but that is quite a statement. Anyway, so the spread of the new variant, which I made a song and dance of in my last video, was the biggest challenge, we were told today. The new variant, of course, is the new narrative that's been introduced, particularly targeting kids, of course. Not only is the new variant a thing that tends to gun for kids, but it's also extremely quick. In fact, it's so quick that it makes Speedy Gonzales look like, beef casserole by comparison. Now that he's mentioned that the new variant, of course, is our biggest challenge, that comes with emphasis of what we should be doing, or explaining why they've done what they've done. So they've also mentioned, or he did, that the NHS, the National Health Service, are heroes. Capacity may be overwhelmed within 21 days. That's 3 weeks, right? If these measures and the vaccinations, etc., aren't full steam ahead. So that's quite interesting, because overwhelmed, for me, and my English is not bad, would indicate that they're already approaching that point. Well, guess what, kids? they're not. And I'll get to that in a bit, because I have an interesting stat that I will end all this on, which will make you chuckle, but it will also make you shake your head. Okay, so they also went on to say that it will probably be March before any of the restrictions may be lifted. Probably and maybe. So always pay attention to the narrative. I keep saying that. It's not me trying to be some sort of teacher here and try and tell people how to suck eggs, but I fall short sometimes and don't pay attention to the actual words that are used, because they always leave themselves a little door open, open for interpretation, open for a U-turn, which I discussed today with a friend of mine in great detail. They love their U-turns, and it's a big problem, because what they do is they keep on covering their backs legally by saying certain things in certain ways. And, they have legal teams working with them and all sorts. I don't. I'm on my Todd with these two. Right. So one of the things that was announced today was that primary and secondary schools, and colleges will be closed, with remote schooling being carried out. Okay. So the remote schooling thing seems to be the way forward. But there is an exception to that rule, and that is vulnerable children and also key workers. Now, whatever vulnerable children means, I know what the word vulnerable means and I know what the word children means, but in this context, I suppose the best thing to do would be to go and delve a little bit deeper and see exactly what they mean by that, because that for me is a bit of an overlap and a bit of a grey zone there. What exactly does that mean? So if you're a parent living in the UK, I'm a parent, but my daughter doesn't live here. She lives in Germany, where they have a curfew, by the way. Anyway, so that doesn't involve me, but I know plenty of parents who this will affect. Right. And the schools, of course, will be closed until at least February half term. At least February half term. Right. And they also added today that all the rules that they've announced will become law by Wednesday morning. So that's Wednesday, the 6th of January, this Wednesday. These will all be written in law, I guess, if they become law. Is that similar to becoming a pumpkin? I don't know what that means, becoming law. But apparently they're all going to do remote Zoom meeting type debating and whatever it is they do in between brandy sessions. Okay. Now he also emphasised, and this is good, because this is sort of what I always sort of talk about, right? The subtleties. Of course, parents may be asking why the measures weren't introduced earlier. These measures now. So of course, again, there's the reinforcing and the gaslighting and all that sort of stuff. The giving of this whole sort of notion that the government up to now have been quite easy on us all, and because of them being so humane and compassionate, we're kind of sort of having to pay for it now, as it were. So thank you very much for being ever so thoughtful, and thank you that you did try your best. And I'm afraid, yeah, you're right. We did overdo it, didn't we? How can you have overdone anything or done anything wrong when the vast majority of this population have been doing exactly what you've been asked them to do in terms of wearing stuff on their face? So a minimal amount of us are holding the whole country to ransom with this. Quite astounding. But then again, there is a new variant. So, of course, they were doing us a favour, weren't they, the government, all this time? And now, because they were so nice to us, now we've got this to deal with and contend with. Right, let's move on. We'll move on to a topic, of course, that's directly connected, but we're switching gears a bit, and that's the vaccinations. Of course, they were mentioned today as well. And I'll start with this bombshell. Now, you can take this as you like. I know how I'm taking this, and it ain't the way the government would like me to take it. I can tell you that. Right. The UK has vaccinated more people than the rest of Europe combined. Think about that. Now, let's look at Europe. I'm just doing it off the top of my head. I haven't had a look now, but Europe consists of, I don't know, 30 odd nations, right? And the European Union alone, I think, has a population of 500 and something million people. Okay, so you're telling me that the United Kingdom has vaccinated more people than the rest of Europe combined? Right. Okay. If you say so. Right. Now, the rollout is for the following four categories, right? All residents in care homes and the relevant staff. Now, I've gone through this before, but the reason why I'm reiterating this is because, first of all, it's to get it to sink in, even for myself, really, because the more I read it, the more it actually becomes more and more clear. Because we've heard a lot of this all before, but sometimes it's so surreal that it's hard to actually get it to sort of go in there and sort of, I mean, I struggle around this sometimes. I really do. Right, so anyway, all residents in care homes and staff, all over 70s, okay, frontline health and social care workers are also up for jabs, and everyone who is clinically vulnerable. Now, clinically vulnerable, again, is a bit ambiguous. What on earth does that mean, clinically vulnerable? Open question. Anybody with any answers, please feel free to drop a comment under this video after I posted it on YouTube and let me know what you think of that, because I'd like to know. I mean, there are explanations for it, but they're very, you know what I mean when you look them up. But anyway, so they're your four categories that are being earmarked or that are being dealt with, as it were, right now and for the very, very near future. Okay, and they've even said that even if this goal is achieved, that is to roll out the vaccination as they're doing right now and get all these categories sorted, there will be a 2 to 3 week lag before any form of immunity will be noticed. You know what I mean? So there we go. That is all I'm going to say about that, really. My thoughts, I'll keep them to myself because, like I say, my daughter subscribed to my channel and I don't want her see me in the wrong light in terms of what I'm going to say. Right, so I'll give you a quick, very brief summary on this national lockdown that we have now, and then I'll end it on something that will make even the most wooden of simple people surely stand up and think for a split second. Okay. Right, summary, what you can and cannot do during the national lockdown. So I'll just read it very quickly. I'll skip a few bits and I'll go through the bullet points and then we'll call it a day. I'll try and keep these videos in future a little bit snappier than the half an hour or roughly that I do them at. Not just that, the two behind me need feeding. Right, so you must stay at home. The single most important action we can all take is to stay at home to protect the NHS and save lives. Let's not forget them. You should follow the guidance immediately. The law will be updated to reflect these new rules, as I just mentioned earlier, by Wednesday morning, the 6th of January. These laws are just that. They're no longer guidances. So if you want to break any of these rules right now, I guess, allegedly, then now would be the time to do it. Because Wednesday morning, that's it. Okay, leaving home. You must not leave or be outside of your home except where necessary. Now, this is quite significant for a lot of people, including myself, by the way, and I've had a chat about this with friends, close friends, who I no doubt will be watching this video at some stage. You know who you are. And this is the bit where this needs real clarification, because this is what's going to lead to interactions with members of authorities, right? And if the information is not clarified, then those interactions will become rather unsavory. Right, so shop for basic necessities for you or a vulnerable person. Vulnerable person, okay. Go to work or provide voluntary or charitable services if you cannot reasonably do so from home. Right, so don't forget, you may leave the home to do these things. Exercise with your household or support bubble. I'll get back to that in a minute because that's important. or one other person. This should be limited to once per day. So what if my exercise shift is a 24-hour one? What if I want to do a 24-hour circuit training regime with big breaks in between of 6 hours a break? Is that one? Anyway, right. Where were we? Okay, and you should not travel outside your local area. Now, what is my local area? Is England local? Is Dorset local? Is Bournemouth local? Am I allowed to go to Poole or Christchurch? Can I even go to Westbourne? Can I go to Southbourne? Is it just a corner shop? Is it my bathroom? Am I allowed to even reach my bed? Is that too far away? I don't know. That might need some clarification. Right, next bullet point. We're already on number 4. Meet your support bubble or childcare bubble where necessary, but only if you are legally permitted to form one. Now, I'm not going to go into this, but there is a link that takes you straight through to a page talking about support bubbles or childcare bubbles. I have actually already forwarded this to a friend, but this is for anybody to go and have a look at. So if you go onto national lockdown, stay at home, gov.uk, right? And then when you scroll down, you can see the summary that I'm having to look at right now. And then down there, you will see support bubble and childcare bubble with the links thereof. Go on there and it will tell you. And I can tell you now that it is not everyone stay at home and wear Darth Vader suits and whatever, and you're not allowed to talk, anything. It's not that brutal when you read it carefully. There are things you can do, right? Okay. Another thing you can do, seek medical assistance or avoid injury. It's very nice. Illness or risk of harm, including domestic abuse. Well, that's obvious, that's nice that they're allowing people to leave their homes if they're being abused in them. That is, for me, again, well, why mention that? I mean, okay, and also attend education or child care, for those eligible, right? So from that lot, I will pick out, for me, of importance, things like, obviously, the childcare things goes without saying, but things like support bubbles, because I think that's going to become a very, very necessary part of getting through this for a lot of people, including myself, because we do need, to be able to interact with people. We are of this nature. That's how we're here, and we do need that. It's as simple as that. You cannot be sitting at home all day, every day. Even if you have lots of multimedia to work off and PlayStation and God knows what else you might be doing, you've got to get out. And the best way to combat all this anyway is to get out into the fresh air and get some vitamin D on you and stretch your legs and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, right, colleges, primary and secondary schools will remain open only for vulnerable children and the children of critical workers. All other children will learn remotely until February half term, which is what I've already mentioned, right? And it goes into then meeting others and all that sort of thing. So there are the things, really. I just briefly went through a summary of what you can do in this tier. All the rest of the stuff remains the same. So this is tier 4 and it's gone up from that. So it's pointless me going, it's not going to go backwards, is it? So if you want to know about tier 4, I went into a bit of detail on that on my previous video, which was the New Year's news from a few days ago. And I go into it there. Right. So to leave on I won't say a high positive note, I'll say on a note that kind of highlights what many of us are talking about. The phrase from Mark Twain of lies, damn lies, and statistics are best highlighted with this. According to official sources, and in this case it was the BBC, our friends at the Beeb, 3,145 COVID patients have been taken into hospital, admitted into hospital, right? 3,145 COVID patients have been admitted to hospitals throughout England only on the 2nd of January. Now, they said, here we go, that's the equivalent of 18 hospitals being full with COVID. I don't know what it's like in any other country on earth, but I think you would find it hard to find two identically sized hospitals for a kickoff. So that already renders that stat obsolete. But here's the one I like and I prefer, because there are 1,257 hospitals in England. So when we move that stat away from the officialdom and put it into its clear perspective and how it should be looked at, that equates to 2.5 people per hospital. 3,145 people, patients, COVID patients, spread throughout 1,257 hospitals in England, right? 2.5 people per hospital, right? Think about that. You get more than 2.5 people in a bleeding toilet in a hospital, never mind in a whole hospital. So, on that note, and this is what we're dealing with, how things chop and change, get turned. It's always the figures that get tweaked, turned, and all that sort of stuff. And I certainly don't seem to have the time to be able to explain it to people on the street or anything like that, because they're always in a rush because they don't want to hear it. So these are the points I have to in future really, really emphasize. Short, quick, bullet pointy kind of points to get it through to people that listen. You know, even that one stat that I just read there, how easy it is to just fudge it and twist it round into your favor. And that is exactly what's been going on the whole time to justify what we're enduring right now and the upcoming vaccine rollout and whatever else is to come after that. Because I'm sure this is only the beginning of what's going on, and not the final phase of our struggle, as Mr. Johnson said, as I mentioned here at the outset of the news this evening. Deep breath. And then crack on with the rest of the evening. So, on that note, I hope you're all doing well. Don't let it get you down. There is life that continues. So, it will be good night from them. Good night from me. Speak to you all very soon. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for supporting my channel. Bye-bye.